Hi everybody, John Carroll here, Superintendent in the Lagunitas School District, and I apologize but I'm making yet another video about school funding. This is important though because it's about funding right now and what our current situation is. So hopefully I can simplify what's a very complicated and always moving process down to something that everyone can understand. So let's take a look at this chart behind me. There it is. And you can see this big blue box here is our total amount of money. Below that you see our total spending, that's the red, and orange is our total annual income in 17-18. Over here we have what's called the mandated reserve. There are laws and board policies that make it so that we have to maintain a certain amount of money as a prudent reserve in case we hit some sort of accident or hard times where we have to pay some bills that we weren't expecting. So that's the basic setup, and the first thing you'll notice probably is that our income is not as much as our spending this year, and that is called a deficit. So basic finance is if you're spending more than you're making, you have a deficit. Now that doesn't mean we're going to go under because we have a reserve. But something we need to be aware of all the time is that our reserve doesn't go on forever. It's not this unlimited fund that we can just keep pulling out of any time. If we use up a little bit of it by deficit spending, the next year there's less of it. And what if our total spending goes up? One of the interesting and challenging things about managing a public school is even if you don't change your behavior at all, your spending is going to go up. It goes up automatically whether you like it or not. Here are some examples of how that happens. One of the features of public school compensation for teachers and for non-teaching employees is the concept of a step increase. It's a built-in raise that for every year of service, the pay for that employee goes up. It's common. In fact, I don't know of any school that doesn't have it. This is a salary schedule that shows year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all the way up to year 22. And as you can see, salaries for teachers increase modestly each year. Another feature of a salary schedule is called column. As they move across in terms of units, college units earned, teachers make more money going upward, well, looks like downward on the salary schedule, but the amounts go up, and across as they earn more college credits. I actually think that's a really good thing, but one thing I do want to point out is that even if there are no additional raises given in any school year, what happens is the district's cost for employment is going to go up because of step and column. Now, in the state of California, all public school teachers and administrators participate by law in a system called the California Teachers Retirement System, or CalSTRS. Over the next several years, CalSTRS will be raising its rates. Now, the way it works is the employee pays some into the fund, and the employer, the school district, pays some into the fund as well. The employer contribution is growing dramatically in the next few years. These are the employer contribution rates, meaning the amount that the school district has to pay into the retirement account of each teacher. So back in 2014, each district had to pay in 8.88% of the teacher's salary, above and beyond the salary, into CalSTRS for the teacher's retirement. That number, as you can see, is climbing dramatically, where by the year 2020, school districts will have to pay 19.1% of every teacher's salary into the retirement system to make sure it stays solvent. Now, don't get me wrong. Teacher retirement is really important. Teaching is not generally one of the higher paid professions, and it's really important that we have our teachers who work hard for many years to rely on some income once they are retired. But what I do want to point out is that school districts across California have a growing cost regardless of whether or not they give raises. Now, just to recap, we have our total money, we have our total spending, which, as you can see, is beyond our total income. But the reason we don't go broke is because we have a reserve. But if we do nothing different, if we do business as usual, what's going to happen is that spending will go up anyway for the reasons that I just showed you. So we have to do something. And that something is going to have to do with us reducing the amount of money that we spend every year. There's no way around it. We can be optimistic and a little bit hopeful about our income stream increasing modestly, but our projections are showing us that that's not likely to solve the problem for us. We're going to have to take some steps internally, and we're very capable of doing that in the Lagunitas School District. My intent with this video was just the big concept. I wasn't trying to include numbers and break down the budget into all the various areas where we do our spending and where our income streams come from. We have a mechanism for that, our first interim budget report, our second interim, all of those are public documents, easily available if you'd like to dig into them, but this was just big picture. I will put up some general numbers, knowing that school budgets are always a work in progress, so you have a rough idea of the kinds of dollars that we're talking about. So here goes. So in the simplest terms, including very rough dollars, 4.3 million total, 3.86 million in spending, 3.76 million in income this year, which leaves us short of about $100,000. Luckily, we have a reserve, a little more than the 8% that's required, and we are cutting into that. Like I mentioned, we can't keep doing that, or eventually we'll run out, and I don't even want to think about what happens if we go that far. But we won't. It's going to be fine, but we're going to have to make some reductions. Thanks very much for watching. If you need more information, email me at jcarroll@lagunitas.org. Bye.